The afternoon sun blazed down on the marble steps of the Capitol, where John Kennedy, the Louisiana senator known for his sharp wit and no-nonsense demeanor, had just finished a round of meetings. He wasn't surrounded by cameras, staff, or reporters this time. He had just himself, a briefcase in hand, and the quiet satisfaction of a long day's work. But as he walked toward his car, parked along a side street, something unexpected happened. A uniformed officer, broad-shouldered, face twisted in anger, stepped directly into his path. Without warning, the cop spat on the ground near John's shoes, the saliva splattering close enough to make Kennedy freeze in disbelief. "Get out of here, old man," the cop sneered. "People like you don't belong around here." Kennedy blinked, stunned. He wasn't dressed in his usual suit and tie, just a plain button-up shirt and slacks. He looked like any other aging man going about his day. The officer clearly had no idea who he was speaking to. Instead of exploding in anger, Kennedy's first instinct was something else: sadness. "Son," he said quietly, his voice steady, "you shouldn't treat people that way." The officer laughed bitterly. "Save the lecture, Grandpa. You think you're better than me. This city's full of nobodies like you. Move along before I make you." Now, anyone who knew John Kennedy knew his sharp tongue could cut deeper than any weapon. But this wasn't the Senate floor, and this wasn't a debate. This was about respect as something far deeper. Kennedy took a deep breath. "What's your name, officer?" The man smirked. "Why, you gonna complain? I'll make sure that report goes nowhere. People like me run these streets." For a long moment, Kennedy simply looked at him. His mind flashed back to his upbringing in Louisiana, his father teaching him that dignity isn't about titles or power, but about how you carry yourself when others test your character. Then, slowly and deliberately, Kennedy reached into his briefcase and pulled out his Senate ID. The officer's smirk evaporated instantly, his eyes widening as the realization sank in. The man he'd just spat out a broken bar was one of the most recognizable senators in Washington. The color drained from the officer's face. "Senator, a broken bar? Yeah, I didn't realize a broken bar." Kennedy didn't raise his voice. He didn't lash out. Instead, he stepped closer, his voice low and firm. "That's the problem. You shouldn't have to know who a person is to treat them with decency. Today it's me. Tomorrow it could be someone with no voice, no power, and no way to defend themselves. Is that the kind of man you want to be?" The officer's hands trembled. He tried to stammer an excuse, but nothing came out. Kennedy's words cut deeper than anger ever could. The silence stretched, heavy and uncomfortable. And then Kennedy did something even more shocking. He extended his hand. "Son, I believe in second chances," he said. "You've got a badge on your chest. That means something. Don't throw it away on arrogance and hate. Be better than this." The officer, shaken to his core, hesitated before finally taking Kennedy's hand. For the first time, his tough Section 8 cracked. His eyes glistened, and not from fear, but from shame. That moment changed everything. The story spread quietly through the police department, whispered among officers who heard that the senator hadn't humiliated one of their own but instead offered him grace and the chance to change. Weeks later, Kennedy received a handwritten letter in his office. It was from the officer. He admitted that he'd been carrying anger and bitterness for years, lashing out at people he barely knew. But after that encounter, he enrolled in counseling, started volunteering at a community youth program, and even apologized to colleagues he had wronged. The letter ended with one line that Kennedy kept tucked inside his desk: "You taught me that real strength isn't about power, it's about respect." Kennedy didn't frame it, didn't boast about it, didn't even mention it on the Senate floor. But every time he read it, he felt a quiet sense of hope, because in a world full of division, one moment of grace, one moment of restraint had turned anger into redemption.